WWE CM Punk suffers flashback after strange sighting at Dancing with the Stars. The bright lights of live entertainment often blur the line between performance and reality. When professional wrestlers venture beyond the squared circle, they are frequently confronted with moments that transport them back to past battles, rivalries, or personal struggles. Where CM Punk, whose return to WWE after nearly a decade away has been one of the most talked about stories in wrestling, a seemingly innocuous evening in Hollywood turned into something far more complicated. While attending Dancing with the Stars, he experienced what he later described as a sudden, overwhelming flashback triggered by an unexpected sight. The situation began with Punk's appearance in the audience during a live taping of the popular ballroom competition show. A longtime fan of reality television and someone known to support crossover stars, his presence was unsurprising to some. Yet those familiar with Punk's history understood how certain faces and atmospheres could stir unresolved emotions. WWE is more than a career path. It is a stage of battles where triumphs and traumas often coexist. The spectacle of live competition, combined with personalities tied to his past, collided to unearth memories he had tried to keep buried. To the casual observer, Punk seemed composed. Cameras panned across the audience, showing him clapping politely as celebrities and professional dancers performed. Behind the scenes, however, insiders noted that his demeanor shifted during a particular performance. What sparked the reaction was not simply the music or the routine, but rather a figure whose presence echoed a fragment of his wrestling life. The individual was not a wrestler, but someone whose look, movement, or aura reminded Punk of a chapter in his past he associates with struggle and disillusionment. Those who know Punk's history understand the significance. His WWE career, both in its first run and in his more recent return, has been defined by intensity, rebellion, and conflict. Known for walking away from the company in 2014 due to burnout and creative frustration, Punk spent years insisting he would never return. Yet the gravitational pull of wrestling eventually drew him back. Still, the scars of that first departure have not disappeared. The sight on Dancing with the Stars, something seemingly trivial to most, served as an emotional trigger. For Punk, the moment reportedly brought back the claustrophobic sensation of being trapped in situations he could not control. Wrestling's high-pressure environment, filled with corporate politics and personal rivalries, often tested his mental health. Friends and former colleagues have spoken about the toll it took on him. The crowd, the music, and the glamour of the ballroom mirrored, in an uncanny way, the theatricality of the wrestling world he once sought to escape. The sensory overlap blurred time, carrying him back to arenas, locker rooms, and confrontations that shaped his legacy, but also haunted him. Observers described a noticeable stillness in his body language. His usually sharp eyes seemed distant, as though he had momentarily stepped out of the present. For an athlete trained to project strength and confidence, this kind of lapse stood out. Punk has never shied away from discussing mental resilience, often embracing the idea that vulnerability does not negate toughness. Yet this sudden flashback was a reminder that trauma operates on its own terms. In wrestling, flashbacks are rarely discussed in clinical terms, but they are real. Decades of performing through pain, both physical and emotional, leave deep imprints. Punk's career has been filled with moments of triumph, pipe bomb promos, championship reigns, and a loyal fan base that chants his name even in his absence. At the same time, the backstage conflicts, high-stakes injuries, and bitter exits left shadows. When he speaks of feeling triggered or drawn back into uncomfortable memories, it reflects the cost of performing in an industry that demands everything while often giving little in return. The strange sighting at Dancing with the Stars thus became more than an awkward celebrity moment. It was a collision of two worlds. On one hand, ballroom dancing embodies elegance, spectacle, and artistic expression. On the other, professional wrestling embodies combat, storytelling, and controlled chaos. Yet both are forms of live entertainment, and both require athletes to pour themselves into performance under judgmental eyes. For Punk, that overlap was enough to stir echoes of a time when the pressure consumed him. Fans quickly speculated about what or who specifically caused his reaction. Some pointed to former WWE-affiliated personalities who have crossed into mainstream television. Others suggested it was less about a single person and more about the environment itself, the flashing lights, the orchestrated crowd reactions, the show business energy. Punk has always thrived on authenticity, often railing against what he perceives as artificial or scripted. Sitting in a ballroom filled with staged enthusiasm may have reminded him of arenas where he once felt suffocated by corporate control. The episode also sparked wider discussion about how athletes deal with mental health challenges. For years, professional wrestling was notorious for neglecting the psychological well-being of its performers. The culture emphasized toughness, with little room for acknowledging anxiety, depression, or trauma. Punk, in many ways, has been at the forefront of breaking that silence. His openness about disillusionment and burnout helped shift conversations within WWE and beyond. Seeing him experience a public flashback served as a sobering reminder that healing is rarely linear. In the days following the event, wrestling forums and fan communities buzzed with theories. Some expressed sympathy, noting how difficult it must be to navigate fame while carrying unresolved memories. Others treated the incident as a storyline opportunity, imagining how WWE might weave this vulnerability into future angles. The reality is likely simpler and more human. Punk, despite his defiance and resilience, is still susceptible to moments when his past resurfaces unexpectedly. This strange moment at Dancing with the Stars adds yet another layer to his complex public persona. Punk has always been more than just a wrestler. He is an outspoken figure who bridges wrestling, mixed martial arts, commentary, and cultural critique. His authenticity is his currency, and moments of visible struggle only reinforce his relatability. Fans see in him not just the best in the world persona, but also a man grappling with the consequences of living life at high intensity. In the larger narrative of his career, the flashback may ultimately be remembered as a small but telling footnote. It underscores the truth that performance and reality cannot always be separated. Wrestlers do not leave their memories in the locker room when they retire or walk away. They carry them into every new environment. For Punk, the bright lights of Hollywood were not so different from the spotlights of a WWE arena. Both settings demand presence, energy, and composure. Both can also summon ghosts. As WWE continues to feature Punk in prominent storylines, this incident reminds fans that his return is more than just a professional choice. It is also a personal journey through past wounds and present challenges. The strange sighting at Dancing with the Stars may have been fleeting, but the flashback it triggered reflects the deeper story of a man still navigating the space between performance and self-preservation. In the end, Punk's experience illustrates that even the strongest performers are human. The past has a way of resurfacing, sometimes in the least expected places. Whether in a wrestling ring or a ballroom audience, the memories follow, waiting for a reminder to bring them back. For CM Punk, the journey is not just about entertaining millions, but also about confronting, and perhaps making peace with, the ghosts that linger under the spotlight.